Good morning and welcome in to another episode of the Cowboys Fans. We've got a packed show lined up for you today, with storylines involving Micah Parsons, the Washington Commanders, yes, that's somehow a thing now, and some trade chatter around Luke Schoonmaker. We'll also dive into the offensive line situation, which, as we creep closer to training camp, is becoming one of the more interesting position battles to watch. But before we get into all that, let's talk about something that's near and dear to this channel, our monthly like battle. The Raiders Report is making a serious push this month, closing the gap in total likes. The Cowboys Report had surged ahead of the 49ers Report recently, and now we've got the Raiders breathing down our necks. We cannot let Raider Nation catch us, folks. So, if you're watching whether it's this video or any others from this channel, hit that like button. It's free, helps us out big time, and it keeps the Cowboys on top where we belong. Let's shift gears now and talk about this bizarre new storyline involving Micah Parsons and the Commanders. Believe it or not, this whole situation started thanks to NBA star Kevin Durant at Fanatics Fest, with an assist from Kye Adams. It sounds weird because it is weird, but here's how we got here. Kevin Durant and Micah Parsons were both at the event, and Kye Adams was doing her hosting thing. During a chat with Durant, she mentions that Micah isn't signed long-term with Dallas, which technically is true, though the Cowboys still have him under team control with a year left on his deal and the ability to use franchise tags. So it's not like he's walking anytime soon. Durant responds with, "I think he'll be a Commander in 2 years," and then Kay brings Micah over to get his reaction. Instead of shutting it down immediately, Micah says something like, "I only rock with Dan Quinn." Now, what does that mean? That's where things get cloudy. Is he saying he loves Dan Quinn so much he'd follow him anywhere, including to the Commanders? Or is he saying the only thing he likes about Washington is Dan Quinn, and everything else doesn't matter to him? There's ambiguity here, and that's the problem. He could have just said no. He could have killed the story dead right there. Instead, this has now turned into a pointless distraction that people are going to run with. It's frustrating because this shouldn't even be a headline. But with a slow NFL news cycle and training camp still about a month away, we're stuck having to deal with it. You just know a show like First Take is going to run this as a segment, "Will Micah leave for Washington?" When the real answer is no, of course not. He's under control for multiple years, and there's zero actual traction behind this. But perception matters, especially in a media landscape that thrives on drama. What's the actual percent chance the Cowboys end up paying Micah Parsons? I'd say 100%. This guy's not going anywhere. He's a generational talent, and Dallas isn't about to let him walk. They'll make him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history, something they should have done already. Just get it done. Waiting only fuels more nonsense like this, where Durant gets to play fantasy GM, and we all have to spend a news cycle on a quote that shouldn't have mattered. Let's pivot now to another interesting bit of speculation: Luke Schoonmaker trade rumors. Katie Drummond over at Cowboys Wire floated the idea of Dallas exploring trade options for the former second-round pick. The concept is intriguing. Instead of waiting and hoping for Schoonmaker to finally hit, maybe Dallas should consider cashing out now while there's still some perception of upside attached to him. To be fair, Schoonmaker was better in 2024 compared to his rookie year. He cut down on drops, got more targets, more receptions, more yards, but even with those gains, he still didn't produce anywhere near the level you'd expect from a second-round tight end. It's not like he broke out. He improved, yes, but serviceable isn't what you draft in round 2. Still, his contract is very manageable, $1.7 million cap hit in 2025, only $1.32 million in cash. That makes him a tradable asset. So here's the dilemma. Is whatever you could get back for him, say, a late day 3 pick, really worth more than keeping him on the roster for depth and potential growth? He's going to be 27 this season, which makes his developmental runway a little shorter than you'd like. And with Jake Ferguson locked in as Teone, you have to ask whether guys like Brevin Spanford, John Stevens Jr., or even an undrafted name like Princeton Fant could make Schoonmaker expendable. But it's also possible none of those guys step up. And if there's an injury in camp or early in the season, suddenly tight end depth becomes a concern. That's why, despite the idea being interesting, I'm not sold that a Schoonmaker trade is good roster management at this time. Unless someone clearly seizes the TE2 role and proves they belong, you might be better off keeping him and hoping he makes the leap this year. Now, onto what might be the most critical position group heading into camp, the offensive line. There's a proposal from inside the Star suggesting that Terrence Steele could be benched, with Tyler Guyton, Dallas's first-round rookie, taking over at right tackle. That would trigger a pretty significant O-line shuffle. Tyler Smith at LT, Tyler Booker at LG, Cooper Beebe at center, Brock Hoffman at RG, and Guyton at RT. Pretty much an entire overhaul aside from Smith. But let's be clear, this is not how the Cowboys lined up during OTAs or minicamp. In those practices, it was the expected unit, so this proposal is more of a what-if scenario. And while there's logic in the best 5 guys approach, I'm not convinced this is that lineup. Swapping 4 out of 5 positions creates continuity issues, and offensive lines rely heavily on chemistry. Switching a guard from left to right or center to guard may sound easy, but it can be disruptive, especially for young players. As for Terrence Steele, yes, he struggled in 2023. He wasn't the same player he was before the injury, and it showed. But there's optimism inside the building that the coaching changes, especially new OL coach Connor Riley and OC Clayton Adams, will lead to improvement. They're tweaking the run game and giving players like Steele a system that might suit them better. So while he didn't bounce back fully last season, the team seems more confident than fans are that Steele can still be that guy. Then there's Tyler Guyton. He's a developmental prospect, and Dallas has a strong track record with round 1 linemen. But let's not pretend development is guaranteed. He needs to show more than just good interviews and positive OT reviews. When we get into padded practices and preseason action, we'll get a better look. Right now, Guyton is more hope than certainty. So be honest, what's your confidence level in the offensive line right now? You've invested a lot of draft capital in this group. It has to be good for this team to contend. Is it a 6? A shaky 7? Something lower? One thing's clear: training camp is going to provide a lot of answers. We'll be covering all of it every day, with live shows, updates, and watch parties throughout the season. So if you haven't already, subscribe over at youtube.com/cowboystuff and don't miss a moment of the action. And before we wrap, a quick plug: Cowboys training camp gear is live right now at chatsports.com/cowboyscamp. Whether it's bucket hats, visors, sideline shirts, or hoodies, gear up before things officially get rolling in Oxnard. The link's in the comments and the description of today's show. That'll do it for this breakdown. Plenty of news, rumors, and debates to chew on. Sound off in the comments with your thoughts on Micah, Schoonmaker, and the O-line situation, and we'll catch you on the next Cowboys Fans.